Hello. Spring is gathering momentum. Nature is coming alive. People are irresistibly drawn to fresh air, fields, forests, and backyards, as well as gardens, which we will talk about today. At the dawn of human civilization, in ancient Egypt, people believed that in afterlife there were fields of Aaru, or the field of reeds, where the souls of the righteous go to. They live just as they did on earth, but eternally, blissfully, and richly. And all their chores are done for them by ushabti, living figurines that were placed in tombs in ancient Egypt. Sumerian myths tell of the great god Enki, who liked the island of Dilmun so much that he decided to settle there. Alas, there was no fresh water there. Then Enki ordered the sun god, Uh-vuh, to solve this problem, to get water. A spring of fresh water gushed forth on Dilmun. The trees blossomed, the meadows turned green, the gardens bloomed, the ears of wheat filled with grain. A Sumerian poet described this island as a place where the lamb fears no wolf, and the lion kills no one. In this sacred garden, where sorrow and death, cruelty and despair are unknown, live the immortal Sumerian gods. The only person in the garden is the Sumerian king Ziusudra, or Utnapishtim. Enki warned him of the coming great flood and commanded him to build a great vessel on which he could escape. The gods then granted him and his wife eternal life and allowed them to live on Dilmun. Many ancient peoples believed in the myth of the Fortunate Isles, or Isles of the Blessed, located somewhere at the edge of the world. The ancient Greeks and Romans believed that far to the west, there lay the island of Elysium, where eternal spring reigned. The souls of the righteous travel there. They enjoy life, strolling along the Champs-Élysées, an eternally blooming meadow surrounded by a beautiful fairy tale forest. Today, anyone can stroll along the Champs-Élysées by visiting the center of Paris, the name of the city's central avenue. The Celtic Isles of the Blessed are also located in the ocean to the west. Abundance and youth reign there, and time stands still. The legends of the Britons, who inhabited Britain before the Anglo-Saxons, tell of Avalon, a happy island, inhabited by immortal heroes and wizards. The miraculous apples that grow there grant immortality. Morgan Le Fay carried the mortally wounded King Arthur to this island. Since then, Arthur has been lost in slumber on Avalon. However, in the hour of great danger, he will awaken and save Britain. The Irish tell of the island of Brasil, also known as High Brazil, which can only be seen once every 7 years, when the thick fog surrounding it clears. This mythical island in the Atlantic Ocean appears on many maps from the 14th to the 17th centuries, for example, on a map in Abraham Ortelius's 1570 atlas. It is hypothesized that the name of the South American country of Brazil derives from this island. Incidentally, the Tupi-Guarani indigenous people of Brazil believe in the existence of an island in the Atlantic Ocean called Yvy marã, invisible to ordinary people and accessible only to those who have achieved perfection. The island is home to the god of the world's creator, who holds the blue jaguar and the original bat. If he releases them, the blue jaguar will destroy humanity, and the bat will swallow the sun. The animals and plants on this island speak a human language, and migratory birds come here for the winter. Let's move from South America to medieval Europe. At that time, many artists depicted the Virgin Mary in a blooming garden. Let's look at a painting created in the early 15th century by an artist known as the Upper Rhenish master. The miniature painting depicts a corner of a blooming garden in which the Virgin Mary, the infant Christ, Archangel Michael, and saints take a rest. The Virgin Mary is depicted with a golden crown, and her azure cloak reflects her image as the Queen of Heaven. However, her simple dress and pillow instead of a throne emphasize the Virgin Mary's connection with humanity. The infant Christ plays a stringed instrument called a psaltery. In Christianity, the Book of Psalms, or hymns, Psalter, is named after this instrument. On the right, there sits the Archangel Michael. At his feet, we see the devil, small and harmless. Don't be surprised, after all, it was this archangel who managed to defeat this evil creature.
And who is lying belly up in the right corner?
It is the dragon, slain by St. George, depicted in this painting next to Michael.
Poor little creature.
The plants, birds, and insects are depicted with amazing realism. Researchers have managed to identify many of the plant and bird species depicted in the painting. A French rose and a tit. A cherry tree and an oriole. An Adonis and a robin. A hollyhock, or a mallow, and Uh-vuh. A peony bush and a cabbage butterfly. The artist's garden is dual. It combines the features of an earthly paradise as a peaceful idyll in a blooming garden and the heavenly paradise as the Garden of Eden. In ancient Hebrew texts, Eden is a magical garden in which God placed the first humans he had created, Adam and Eve. By the by, some scholars believe that the word Eden comes from the Sumerian Didon, a plain, a term often used to describe the plain between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers in southern Mesopotamia. The Garden of Eden is depicted in a painting by the most enigmatic artist, Hieronymus Bosch. God introduces the awakening Adam to Eve, created from his rib. They are surrounded by a seemingly beautiful garden, but look closely, is it truly harmonious and serene? Upon closer inspection, we see a multitude of strange creatures, structures, hunting predators, and a swarm of black birds. Could this be a forewarning of humanity's imminent expulsion from paradise? In contrast, in the paintings of Jan Brueghel the Elder, all the animals, lions, horses, swans, and many others, coexist peacefully in the Garden of Eden. This artist invented a new genre of painting, the paradise landscape, for which his contemporaries nicknamed him the Paradise Brueghel. Other artists also depicted the Garden of Eden in similar ways, including the Dutchman Gillis Claesz dHondecoeter, an anonymous Flemish artist of the early 17th century, the Austrian Johann Wenzel Peter. Still, in this ideal world, Eve already offers Adam an apple from the tree of knowledge. As a result, the angry God expelled humanity from the Garden of Eden. Their lives became filled with hard work, worries, and sorrows, while the dream of the Garden of Eden forever settled in their souls. Fantastical paradise-like landscapes are one of the favorite themes in painting. If desired, one can see an image of the Garden of Eden in ancient Chinese landscapes painted on silk, in illustrations by Edmund Dulac, in the floral landscapes by Gustav Klimt, or in the landscapes by Michalina Janoszanka, who painted her fantastical gardens on the backs of glass panels. In the middle of the 20th century, a woman named Alena Kiš wandered through villages around the town of Slutsak, in Belarus. She earned her living by painting the Garden of Eden on carpets. On simple black cotton or linen fabrics, amongst bright flowers, we see birds, lions, a river with swans and blooming water lilies, and happy young men and women relaxing. After the brutal war, it was so important for people, who worked hard and lived in poverty, to see a bright, kind, and prosperous life depicted on the walls of their homes. Only 11 carpets painted by Alena Kiš have survived, and they are now preserved in a museum in the small Belarusian town of Zaslaoya. Recently, the former Harvard physics professor Michael Gillis said that the biblical paradise may lie beyond the observable universe. This place is so distant that light has not yet had time to reach the earth during the entire existence of the universe. According to Gillis, time has stood still there, consistent with the description of paradise as a place without the past, the present, or the future. Unfortunately, most of Michael colleagues do not support his theory, believing that ordinary space, not a metaphysical paradise, continues beyond the observable universe. Therefore, if we want to see paradise, we should not try to invent a rocket that travels faster than the speed of light. We should turn to myths and legends, to the works of artists and writers, or to our own imagination and creativity.
Lastly, I want to thank my best friend, AI image creator from Microsoft Bing, that created some of the pictures for this short story. As well as Wikipedia, an inexhaustible source of information about everything in the world,